have a quorum of all 5 board members present. Would you please join me in the pledge of allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. With liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will pause for a moment of silent reflection. The first item on the agenda is for the board to hold a hearing on the transfer to Pulte. Item on the agenda is for the board to hold a hearing on the transfer to Pulte Homes of Indiana LLC, 33.21 acres of vacant land located at 5350 South 650 East Whitestown, Indiana, as part of a trade in exchange of 21.5 acres located at 8245 East 300 South Zionsville, Indiana. If you are interested in speaking at the hearing, please make sure you have signed the sign-in sheet at the back of the room, which should include your name and address. After a presentation by the administration, there will be an opportunity for the public to make comments. At the hearing, we ask each person to limit comments to 3 minutes and the topic be limited to the proposed activity under consideration. This notice of public hearing was published as legally required, and at this time I will ask Assistant Superintendent Matt Doublestein to explain the purpose of the hearing.
Thank you, Board. Indeed, pursuant to Indiana Code 36-1- in real estate owned by the school must hold a public hearing. So several months ago, in fact, quite several months ago, we were approached by Pulte on a project that they are contemplating near that address on 300 South. They had an interest in discussing an exchange of a portion of the property on a project that they are contemplating there for our 33.2 acres out west. They're on Main Street, 650 East in Whitestown. There are a number of considerations that are, of course, an advantage for us, including that it's more located toward increased areas of population for our growing community, and also that there would be a potential for some valuable return, a financial return to us for the discrepancy in acreage. And so, purpose of the hearing here is to hear public comment. Later in new business, there will be an item, a recommendation for your consideration. Happy to answer any questions that you might have at that time, but just want to be sure that the public has a chance to speak. Thank you.
We will now open the hearing for public comment. Mrs. Johnson, did anyone sign up to speak on this matter? Is there anyone here that would like to speak? Thank you. We will now close the public hearing, and I will open the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. Recognize that we still have a quorum of all 5 board members, and the first item on the agenda for the regular meeting is public comment. If you would like to speak, please make sure you sign in with the recording secretary. I do have one speaker. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Mr. David Haynes.
Thanks for having me. So, Zionsville Community Schools recently changed its foreign language offerings, especially in high school. When we moved to Zionsville back in 2017, our children enrolled in a program called Learn Another Language. They pay $1,400 a year. The kids start gaining proficiency before school or after school. They donated time to these endeavors, bypassed other activities. All 3 of our daughters went through this during elementary school. Our oldest daughter, who's an 8th grader, now takes Spanish at the high school. Mission accomplished. She's proficient, moving ahead. Our 7th grader received word last year that this wouldn't be allowed to move forward. She would have the option of either taking a year off and redoing basics, or take another foreign language, that doesn't really make sense and isn't part of her proficiency pathway. I've discussed this with Principal Macaluso. I've discussed this with Superintendent Kaufman. I think everyone acknowledges that this is an issue. No one wants to have a conversation about creative solutions that invested families. We have 9 other families that are involved with just Spanish, just at ZMS. I don't know, just Spanish, just at ZMS. I don't know about other languages. I don't know about other, but there's no real conversation happening with these families. We're just being told, these are your 2 options, that's it. I've been told it's because of the block schedule. We're offering math to kids because of the block schedule, so that's not really a good excuse. I've been told it's because of our diploma requirements, or the new changes in diploma. Is that what Carmel's doing? Is that what all the other schools? I'm not really getting clear answers, and I don't know why we're lowering our standards for certain kids when we need to be pushing excellence and proficiency. So I'm just asking that this is an issue that is brought forth to the families that are affected, the kids that are affected, and that this is considered. Because we're really not hearing anything. There's really no transparency. There's zero communication. Emails aren't getting answered. We're getting answered very late with no real concrete answers. Thank you.
Next item on our agenda, we'll move forward to superintendent.
Yes, good evening, members of the public and staff, community members. We have this evening to start off the superintendent's report, a construction update from Vice President of Spoma Corporation, Victor Landfair. He's joining us tonight to provide an update on some of the projects that are happening throughout the district. So thank you, Victor, for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Kaufman. Appreciate the board giving me an opportunity to give you a report. I will say that the weather has slowed down a lot of things the last few weeks, including us. But we have been making progress in spite of that. The baseball softball fields, if you recall, we were rushing to finish those things up for the weather. We got caught with some early winter in December, but fortunately we had a little bit of warm weather through the holidays, and so we did get all the turf down. We did get the dugout improvements completed. We have certificates of substantial completion. Things that we still need to do, and we're looking for another warm weather break, if you call sort of some final commissioning, if you will, of some things before it's 100% playable. And we know spring's coming, and we know baseball and softball are coming, so we're going to work really hard to get those last fine-tuning of the project completed and cleaned up. But we did get some photographs before the snow fell, so we're very pleased that we're just about there on those 2 projects. It turned out very nicely, including the upgrades to those are the existing dugouts that we did improvements. I think that turned out really nice. The locker room addition is also coming along. We did get our steel up, as you probably noticed, and we've got our concrete slabs on grade completed, and we've got some temporary closures. So now we're working inside and have some temporary heat so we can get started on concrete masonry walls. As you can imagine, that kind of facility has a lot of masonry for the durability. So there's photographs of our steel going in place, final touches of steel, and the interior slab on grade that's in place, a lot of underground plumbing on the first floor. And then that may look familiar to you. That's the winter protection so we can continue to work through the winter weather. We plan to finish our second floor slab, this elevated slab, second floor slab. We plan to finish up our masonry walls, start putting aluminum storefronts and windows and frames and overhead ductwork in over the next 60 days. We hope to start the brick veneer, and we'll continue to be working on electrical and plumbing roughing. So if you recall, that project is intended to turn over the addition by the end of this summer, and we hope to start on the interior renovations of the adjacent older locker rooms, which we plan to be completed later in the fall. Early Learning Centers, Early Learning and Education Service Center. Also a project that we're very pleased with the progress. We really had a lot of work done over the fall. The biggest milestone was that we got our Northwest Road and parking lot asphalt down before the plant's closed. We have been working on our foundations, elevator shafts, electrical underground. So like many of these projects, there are an awful lot being put on the ground that you won't ever see again, but they're critical infrastructure so that we can start going vertical in the next 60 days. So there's a shot of the asphalt Northwest Road. There's some of quite a bit of underground plumbing that we've got going in front of the building, where the foundations have been going into place. So we continue, in spite of the weather, we continue to have a lot of contractors out there working and taking advantage of whenever we can. So the next 60 days, we hope to finish all of the foundation footings and the concrete block masonry wall, block masonry. Continue to work on the underground slab electrical and plumbing and start the elevator shafts. We hope to see go up in the next 60 days. Start to see that thing come out of the ground, and we, of course, will be working on our concrete slab. So it'll be exciting report in hopefully 2 months. That's my short, informative construction update. Happy to answer any questions. Oops.
Building in the back that we can see, that's not the house? Okay.
Yes. So that is facing.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Lampier this evening? A couple of other things to include today, our registration for kindergarten. This is going to be the class, hold on everyone, of 2039. We're really excited to partner with our families, meet our students, but registration is open now so that we can prior to our spring break, sometime have the opportunity for incoming kindergarten students to meet with their new principal and see the building. So we're really excited to get this activity up and underway. We anticipate the numbers in kindergarten, students in kindergarten next year to exceed 500, but of course we'll continue to watch and monitor that as registration kicks off. I'm very excited. Make sure to share with neighbors and friends projects, and her team. We do have our February break that is run through the campus at Pleasant View Elementary. So students have swim experience here at Zionsville Community High School, the Aquatic Center, some movie events and other activities. All of ours open to all of our families during the February break. Of course, during the February break, we also have a number of trips that are planned that have been previously authorized. Various music students from Zionsville Middle School, at Walt Disney World, these other opportunities that are taking place this next week. And we're certainly monitoring continued legislative activity. We are really turning a session this year. There's just about language rather in that bill regarding filtration devices and the ability for families to enhance the filtration devices. And that will be something that we'll need to monitor with the contracts and vendors we utilize for filtration here on the school campus. So that's one that we're monitoring. And lastly, one that had quite a bit of testimony this morning, Senate Bill 199. It's one of the various education matters. There are a few of those. Senator Rotz also was the main author of this bill. This morning, there's a lot in this particular bill, but this morning, the key amendment that was heard in testimony was amendment number 5 to include specific parameters around social media for students. And so the amendment does include specific age in which children would be permitted to have social media use. Obviously, it's not specifically a school impacted concern, but it's certainly one that our community members, parents, and children of the community might want to follow and offer opinions if that is of importance. There are some other elements in that bill regarding teacher preparation programs, identifying some recommendations for paid medical leave, and some other factors. But these are all, like I mentioned, there's still 35 that we're monitoring, and there will be a lot of activity this Wednesday in the Education Committee. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. By the time we meet again in March, the session will have concluded. And I want to again thank President Katie Ashelman for attending. I know you'll be attending the State House Day in a couple of weeks with our elected officials to have further conversations. So we appreciate all of the advocacy of you as a board in connecting with our officials. One last reminder, we've promoted this just a bit. We have our due days coming up. This is an annual event where we really want to promote service and support of our entire community. We believe that service learning is an important extension of what we do in our schools. And so our district-wide due days are coming up that first weekend in March. March 5th is our SAT day for our high school juniors. And so there will be E-Day component for the rest of our high school population, strongly focused on service. It's also an E-Day for our middle level students. Different projects that are coming in to support a wide range of organizations, and families can join some of those projects that are school-based. We know that there are other organizations and youth supporting organizations throughout the community who create their own projects and opportunities, and we're really excited to see all of the progress that's made this year. There is spearheading this once again for us this year, and I just want to remind everyone that that's coming up the first weekend in March. Happy to answer any questions, board, if you have them.
Questions, discussion? Thank you, Dr. Crawford. We'll move on then to the consent agenda. Are there any questions, discussion from the board about the consent agenda items? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda, including minutes of previous meetings, personnel, special requests, which may include overnight and out-of-state field trips, acceptance of donations, disposal of surplus equipment, ECA and security equipment purchases, contract renewals, non-renewals, and attorney-vetted actions. The monthly financial report, claims in the amount of $11,149,562.26, and payroll in the amount of $4,702,429.59.
So motion, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The donations. Thank you.
Thank you. At PVE, Janice Bushing donated $300 to Mrs. Hampton's music classroom, Mr. Miller's art classroom, and Mrs. Doherty's first grade classroom, as well as $350 to Mrs. Starr's fourth grade classroom, and $125 to PVE to get their piano tuned. At CCHS, the Jim Irsay Estate donated physical therapy equipment for essential skills program, including a stand walker, transfer aid, wheelchair, and footrest in the amount of $8,652.99. Scott and Elizabeth Benedict donated And Patricia D. Bledsoe donated woodworking lathe and a standing lathe and tools, a drill chuck and a lathe check in the amount of $2,000 to the Makerspace Club. And last, at Z West, the PTO donated $1,886.87 to spring PTO teacher grants. Thank you very much for the donations. Thank you.
One other item that was approved in the consent agenda this evening, I'm pleased to introduce to everyone in the room tonight. Our next Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning, as Chris Devereaux is retiring June 30th. I'm really pleased to introduce Dara Cheesem, who currently is serving as our Pulaski Community Schools. We've gone through a really extensive process since mid-November. We received nearly 60 applications for this particular position, and we're really pleased with the depth, the experience, and the number of people who were interested in this particular role. Throughout this process, Dara exhibited deep experience in K-12 environment, particularly with curriculum and instruction. She provided a sense of how to set advice to our structures and systems here in Zionsville. She's calm and measured and exceptionally knowledgeable about this role, and she also brings a balance of elementary as well as secondary leadership and appears to us as a relationship builder, someone who listens to learn and will help us stretch to new heights. In my opinion, her leadership style will be well received by our parents, our students, our leaders, and our teachers, and our students, our leaders, and our teachers and staff, as she will be serving here in our community. She's navigated in the past as she's been a curriculum director. She's also overseen the technology departments. She's done a wide range of things to help elevate and enhance the student experience. So we're really excited to welcome her on July 1st. And she would love to be here this evening, but she's leading a board meeting in her home district, and she looks forward to meeting everyone in the near future. But she was also approved this evening, and I wanted to formally introduce her to members of the public. Thank you.
We have no old business before us tonight. The first item of new business, number 6A, is the Indiana Business Research Center enrollment projection proposal.
Yes, board members, in your packet this evening is a proposal for our continued work with IBRC, particularly the expert demographers who have worked with us for over 20 years at this point in time, nearly 25. They're very familiar with our community, both Eagle and Union Township, in helping provide for us those enrollment projections that we depend heavily on when it comes to our strategic planning, our financial planning, looking at our staffing considerations, and planning for future enrollments of students across the district. This is something that we've tried to brush off every 2 to 3 years. Our most recent study was presented to you in March of 25. So that is the study that we are using in the current state of all of our planning when it comes to our needs with facilities as well as our needs with staffing. By engaging with IBRC now, we would plan to have a refreshed set of numbers that would incorporate all of the new approved development in Eagle and Union Township, so Whitestown and Zionsville. That would probably be available to us by March of 27 if we begin that engagement time now. And so that aligns with our last several projection studies that have been done every 2 to 3 years. We feel that would be prudent with some of the new developments that have recently come online and help us as we navigate providing quality instruction for all of the residents who live within our boundaries. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
I don't think I have a question. I just think, with all the uncertainty created by legislation like SBA 1 and the necessity to sort of change how we model things moving forward, it's important that we have as many hopefully accurate data points as we can to plug into those models as we try to figure out what's going on. IBRC study as proposed, totaling $26,500, paid from the operations fund in 2 equal installments of $13,250.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next item is number 6B, the consideration of construction bids.
Good evening once again, board. You'll remember that it wasn't too long ago that we provided us authorization to advertise for these several projects to move forward. And so I would like to show you a reminder of what we looked at before, and then a couple of new thoughts as well. But this is just another continuation of the work we've been working on as identified in the 2024 deliberative facility study. And as you've seen in those previous presentations, going back to the 2025 bond issuance and those hearings. We did receive bids and opened them on January 14th, and we'll show you a little bit of that, and then we'll share some more detail here. But you'll recall that we're looking at, a lot of this is simply cycle of life for a lot of our facilities, and then safety as well. So you can see there the track renovation at Zionsville West. These are conditions, asphalt curbs and walks. We have some drop and some sink in some places. There's some pretty significant things to do there at West as it hits 20 years old. It's amazing to me that it's that old already, but as it hits that age, it's time to begin some of these repairs. Boone Meadow and Stonegate of similar ages and even older as we look toward 25 years in those locations with asphalts, curbs, and walks. The 1977 auditorium is coming up on its 50th birthday, and all that it's been through, looking at some things to do there to improve the experience of students, and again, as some life cycle items, and then stage and lighting repairs, updates to the floors, the curtains, and the systems there at Zionsville Middle School and Zionsville West. Did want to show you here a rendering of, not all the colors are necessarily accurate, but a rendering of mine here and anticipated for that refresh of the, again, nearly 50-year-old auditorium at Zionsville Community High School. What's exciting about this project is the ability to return it to functional use for audiences as large as 400 people, open up a lot of opportunities for not only our students, but also staff in their use of that room. Much different than can be functional out of a 1,200 seat pack. And so we're really excited about this one, to be completely honest. We have a pretty old hard deck roof in there that we look forward to changing up. A lot of systems that can be improved, and I think a pretty impressive price tag. It's been great to see the work of not only Mr. Spillman, his input, but also Mrs. McDaniel and her team as we've worked with our architect partners at Fanning. Likewise, in the dressing room space, we currently have enough makeup seats for 22 students. In our current spaces, that's 22 students. The children in show choir, the plans call for 140 stations, and we think that will serve us well into the future. Additionally, at Eagle Elementary School, the 1997 renovated front EFIS as well as interior columns, those have begun. It's hard to see in this projection, but they're home to lots of animals, and they're degrading at a rate that's greater than our ability to patch. So I should clarify, they're not getting into the building necessarily, but they are damaging this. If you look real close, you can see some black dots there in the corner. That's a notorious place that birds find a way to get through all of our patching and wire and all sorts of repair, and they find their ways into that border up there. So it's expected that we'd be able to complete that, as well as a number of safety items. And really, safety is always our first priority. That'd be the Boone Meadow fire alarm and PA public address, as well as Stonegate and Union, temperature controls in Union and Zionsville West, some sound systems, especially those under harsh conditions outside in the pool, and then continuing with corridor and ceiling updates and repairs in the high school. Those are, go back to that list, those are the projects that were contemplated here in this, in your previous authorization to advertise for bids. Again, we received those bids. We had a lot of participation, 23 bidders, or 23 bids, I should say, across 7 categories. So lots of good work there. We would anticipate completion of these projects in time for the start of this 27 school year, I'm sorry, the 26-27 school year for those things that are what we might call summer projects. And then the auditorium will be ready for use in mid-27. It's exciting to think about that one. So low bids and all packages and selected alternates for these projects is demonstrated in your recommendation letter. They total $16,867,839, and if approved, the cost will be paid from the 2025 financing as previously discussed. I'm happy to answer any questions or provide any further information if you have any requests. Thank you.
Would it be fair to say the former football announcer damaged the sound system at the football stadium? Oh, wait, sorry, Tim, you're here. Really, I'm just glad we're gonna take care of the raccoon infestation at Eagle. Probably.
If we get a raccoon, we'll get it well before this project, I promise. HR may have deducted from his pay when he left.
Yeah.
On that system.
Just real quick, you said these are mostly going to be finished by July, August 2026.
Yes.
And so they're all just kind of, so like the auditorium might also be the same company that's doing like the PA renovation at Boone, like.
So the way that those things work into those 7 packages, we're grateful for Skillman and their expertise.
Yeah.
They look at all those different projects and all the different layers of work that need to be done, and they package them, right?
Okay.
So they take a certain number of trades and locations and all of that, and they harmonize that into different things. So you'll notice in the categories, for instance, in order to really hopefully get it done in time for that start of school, because it's a critical system, the work at, oh goodness, I'm trying to get off the top of my head now, but we paired, I think, Stonegate and Boone Meadow and Union and Zionsville West for the temperature controls work. And so those went to different contractors. And that was, again, at their advice in order to try and make sure that we don't have one contractor focused on 4 buildings.
Right.
Not that they couldn't have won that bid had they bid it in a way that would have made that possible and following all the legal requirements and everything, but that's not how it worked out. So that's how they categorize these things in bid categories, and it has provided good results for us in the past. There's a lot of summer work involved here,
Yeah.
and there'll be a lot of things happening. But we've already begun that planning, should you approve for it to proceed tonight, and I think we'll be well positioned to see that thing, to see things ready to go. Again, with that auditorium definitely continuing for more time, yes.
Thank you.
If I may, I just want to offer sincere appreciation to you and to the team that's worked on this. You might recall, Board, that when we have had challenge with receiving bids for some of the work, so the packaging that's been done to maximize, when I look at Boone Meadow, Stonegate, Union Fire Alarm as being systems that are 20 plus years old and at their useful life as a life safety system, and there have been instances where we did not have bids received on fire alarm work. So I'm really pleased with the approach that the team took this time around to get low bids, competitive bids with that many bidders in the process, and also be able to address all of these items that were outlined from that 24 facility study of trying to maintain our current spaces.
Agreed.
Thank you, Dr. Cobb.
So Victor had a look of fear when he heard, by fall. So this is going to be done, right, Victor? Rain or shine?
Except for the auditorium.
Except for the auditorium.
Absolutely. We'll
Okay.
be building and operations when children come back from summer school. Absolutely.
Okay, just want to make sure you're on the record. My other question would be, if we're taking, say, fire alarm system, we're breaking that out into 2 different groups. I would assume there's still some economy or some connection that one isn't installing brand X and brand Y, that we have interchangeability, all of that. So that's
Correct, and that's all in the specifications. So those specifications are the same, even though they're in different categories, and they will all harmonize with existing systems. Yes.
Any other questions or comments? If not, is there a motion?
I move to accept these bids and authorize the leadership team and Skillman to execute the contracts as depicted within the scope of the projects as presented.
Second.
second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
You're not leaving, so you must be here for item number 6C, real estate transaction.
Indeed. So this is the action item, the recommendation from staff on the item that was before you for the public hearing and public comment at the opening of this evening. So indeed, there are these two parcels of land, and Pulte has a pending project to the north of us, here more centrally located in southern Union Township, and approached us about a land swap for a portion of that land area. They're working with multiple parcels. The particular portion that that is in the agreement is in one parcel, and they've proposed that as a swap with some consideration as well for our 30-some acres out near Whitestown. Staff has found that to be a pretty advantageous position, I think, for Zionsville Community Schools, as we see that growth. In Whitestown, having been about built out, they're about done. Another elementary school, or what would fit on 33 acres or so, would not be necessarily as useful as something here toward the center of the district, a little more centrally located. In talking with some of those who've reached out since notice has gone out, one of the questions I hear a lot is what might be planned there. Our pattern has been to find land and parcels well ahead of the need for it, so that we can pay things like 2026 prices for land that we might need in 2030 and 2035 and 2040 and 50. All those things are considerations that we're trying to position our organization and use the board to position you well. A 25 or so acre parcel really is far too small for a middle school or certainly a high school. So in our mind as staff, that might be a parcel of the right size, about an elementary school size space. It's not too dissimilar to Trailside. In my mind, quite often I think about Union. Union's about 17 acres. That's about as tight as we'd like to be. There's some drainage and some water capacity that's shared. That's a nice feature of the what is kind of overview. What is before you. This is the land swap agreement. This would provide the parameters and the timelines going forward, so that you and the public are aware. This doesn't mean that the deal is up a due diligence period that lasts several months and there are opportunities for extension. There are a lot of steps that still happen before you might get to closing. This, however, would authorize us as staff to proceed and work through those additional steps, and would provide the framework for that purchase or that swap moving forward. I'm happy to answer questions about that process, about details of the agreement, whatever I can for you, and hope that I presented enough information here at the beginning to get you started.
Anyone have questions?
A question, to me, it makes all the sense in the world. We have a piece of land across the street from an elementary school that's really sort of sized for another elementary school and elementary schools. So it makes sense for us to sort of plan for the future and change what we have with these things.
I guess in general, looking at the reference
Right, and some of that would have to be parsed out in that diligence period. As Pulte has kind of worked through the process, I've attended one of the meetings that they presented on. I think their intention, and as it's described a little bit in the agreement, is to sort of front load some of that. I guess if your question is, as well as that the General Assembly has helped us a little bit in allowing school districts and all zoning classifications here in the last several years. So we do have the ability, we anticipate the ability to build there, yes. And ability, not approval. We would have to go through all those still development steps and all those things that the public would be able to see and would be public facing before we do so. But yes, we believe it would be available for the kind of use that we would need.
No, I was more worried that, or thinking prior contracts, there were some restrictions on use of the land, that it has to be a school, it could be,
Right.
I don't know, another athletic field or whatever it might be, that there's no restrictions on our use other than whatever we have to get approved through.
As it currently sits, there are not deed restrictions or something like that.
That's what I want to make sure.
Any other questions or comments? If not, is there a motion?
I move to authorize the leadership team to perform every act necessary or appropriate for the purposes of entering into the land swap agreement and the future closing of the real estate transaction with Pulte Homes of Indiana LLC.
Second. So motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Hang on one more
The
time.
last item on our agenda, item number 60, facility usage fees.
Yes, as you well know, Board, our tax support facilities are not only used during the school day for extracurricular school activities, we have lots of ZCS and evening events as well. There was a recognition of that usage impacts the cost of operating those facilities, and so the facility usage fee structure has been approved by the Board going back as far as 2009. The Office of Special Projects, as well as the Starbank Performing Arts Center and ZCS Aquatic Center, manage those fees. And we've had some tiers to that. We have a history with this. I'm sure that you're well familiar with it. Recently, not only because of the impacts of outside factors and legislation, but also because it is wise and prudent. We've done some analysis of the fee structure and an item and a recommendation for those fees. There are some changes. I'd be happy to describe some of that. Majority of them are simply to include new spaces that were not on prior, or to clean up some things that were a little discrepant, and we wanted to make sure that they made some sense. We also request and recommend the Board authorize the superintendent or designee to waive some of the fees. You have policy on that does allow for some of that, but we want to make sure that we mention that to you. So in front of you is a schedule. There was a formatting on one of the documents, so there's a few words missing in some description. If you'd like, I'd be happy to describe that. But then also, to make sure it can open in a way that I can see it too. But then you also have a tab for the Performing Arts Center and a tab for the Aquatic Center as well. As always, happy to answer questions or provide more information.
What I didn't see in the memo was any sort of overall percentage increase that we were trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Is there a number like that?
There really is not. Some of them actually would stay the same. We just want to make sure that they're listed in a way that we'll make sure that staff is consistent too, and how that they're applied, and so that those who request quotes and things can see what that really looks like. There are some that did increase, some by a dollar amount, some by a percentage. In the Performing Arts Center and in the Aquatic Center, there has been more of a regular pattern of update, and so that's a little more consistent, a little closer to a percentage. But again, percentage-wise, it doesn't necessarily make sense to go from, I don't know, let's say $30 to $31.50. That seems a little odd. So sometimes we did some rounding, some that made sense, just so that they're clear and can be billed in a way that's reasonable.
Are these fees available somewhere online for the public to see if they're interested in using?
I don't believe that we have them.
Not yet.
I don't believe so. I think that would be the intention. Of course, every time someone would request to use a space, the direction and what is available online is for them to be in contact with the person who would be writing the estimate for them, or the quote of what those fees would be.
One, really to uphold board policy about making sure that use of school spaces was cost neutral.
that use of outside entities was not providing an additional cost with HVAC, custodial, cleaning supplies, so on and so forth. So I appreciate the time through Martha's office, our CFO, Matt's efforts to not only look at our usage and what some of those utility bills have been across time, but also looking at our peer districts to make sure that we're also in alignment, because we know this can be significant for some of the outside groups that are always looking for additional space to hold events. We want to make sure that we're open and welcoming to supporting various events across the community, but we do have to ensure that it is not costing the school corporation additional dollars to open our doors to those events.
Any other questions or discussion?
Will these, sorry. So the fees are for 2026, so if someone already has the PAC booked, is it at the 25 number, or are they gonna get a?
Yes, as written there in your item, yes, these would be effective July 1st. New usage, those who are already in place, they've already made agreements, we have no need to revise that.
No, I mean, I'm sort of surprised by how infrequently we look at this stuff. And I know we do that because we aren't trying to, this isn't a money maker or anything for us. This is trying to be thoughtful stewards of the investment that the community has made in these spaces. So, makes sense.
I agree with that. I just want to ask this question, and I'm certain that it's taken care of purposes, like when there's parties or
Yes.
when somebody wants to rent out the pack. We have all of that covered.
Absolutely. Not
I
only,
figured, but I just wanted to ask.
yes, not only do our attorneys regularly vet the rental agreements, but we do require insurance from our renters and those who would use through these pathways. We have to turn people away from time to time who can't get or choose not to get insurance.
Okay.
We don't want to be in a situation where someone might get hurt under someone else's use.
Excellent. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the 2026 ZCS facility usage fee schedule and to authorize the superintendent or designee to waive the assessment of certain fees as presented.
Second.
Please say aye.